Hi everyone, welcome back to the Brojection Room podcast. I'm Jack,
On guys.
and today we're going to be talking about the new Fantastic Four, which we saw last week. This week, it
I was
doesn't
going to
matter
say
when
it's
we saw
this
it.
week Monday.
We saw it, yeah. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the new one, doing a non-spoiler review, and then we're going to go into predictions for the future. Not the future, that was the other episode. The Doomsday and Secret Wars. Brief chat on the older Fantastic Four films. Um, you more than me, to be honest. You've watched them recently. I haven't brought
Yeah,
myself around to watching
apart
them.
from Fantastic.
Yeah, and then to end it, we're going to do our spoiler review for Fantastic Four. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Don't know
Sounds
why I'm asking
superb.
you because we agreed this together. So yeah, let's just move on. So I'll start it off if you don't mind. I don't know what I'm talking about that for, but yeah, I'll start it off by saying I think this is the best Fantastic Four film that we've had.
Yeah.
I know it's not a massive big deal, to be honest. There's not much to compete with, but in terms of being an MCU film, I think this is very safe, and that's the word I'd use, safe.
hmm
I did enjoy it. I had a good time with it. There are a lot of flaws in there, a lot of things that I'll have to delve into more in the spoilers. But overall, I'd say yeah, I enjoyed it. How about you?
So, what was your score out of 10? If you were
Um,
to
7.
7, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. What was yours?
I gave it an 8. I
Okay.
I had a really great time watching it. Like you said, I think it's by far the best Fantastic Four movie we've had. But like you said, that's not really much of a competition. Yeah, I'd agree. Say it was safe, but I think everyone was more or less happy that we got, for the most part, a Fantastic Four that felt like a family, that bounced off one another, and that interaction with one another that was so much more enjoyable. It felt more, what's the word I can use? It probably just felt like more of a family. It just, that family aspect, the thing, what I loved most about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, you make a good point because I put on one of my notes here that they all have really decent chemistry and they all did really well in their individual roles. And like you said, as the family, you can tell that they're a good core unit. And but one of my biggest ticks is the retro futuristic look.
I was just about to say, I
Yeah,
loved the futuristic 60s design. I felt the vibe. I was all on board for it because
yeah,
I don't think we've seen, it was unique because we haven't seen that from a Marvel movie in years. So it
yeah,
was nice. It was nice to have like a really different redesign for a change.
yeah. Even the civilians stand out their retro looks.
Yeah, they did,
Yeah,
yeah. But it felt like you was in the 60s, which was really weird. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I thought that was really cool. I think they managed to pull that aesthetic off quite well.
yeah. So I put keeping the origin story simple, and it was a nice montage to show how they got the powers. No need for an extended
Would you put down the
showing.
spoilers?
Well, no, that's not spoiler. It's literally in the first 5 minutes of the freaking thing.
Yeah, I'm just curious, that's all.
Well, I think they must have said that. Like Ken Feige or somebody had said that beforehand that they're not going to go like. I think that's the route they're doing now. They did it with Spider-Man. They're doing it with
Mm,
Superman. It's like people know these characters. They don't need to see,
yeah,
from day dot how they did it and blah blah blah. So yeah, I thought that was easy to digest. Like the opening. Sorry, got his point across.
it did.
Uh, much more simpler, and I put better than another certain superhero film out at the minute, in my humble opinion.
Hmm.
Any comments on that one?
No, I'm going to move on. I disagree to an extent. However, I do think, and you know what? This year has been great for comic book movies. Probably the best we've had in years. You've had Captain America: Brave New World, which a lot of people don't really like, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. We had Daredevil Born Again. I know you haven't seen that. That was great. We then had Thunderbolts. Then we had Superman. Then we got Fantastic Four. We have had a fantastic year for comic book
Uh,
movies.
pun
So I'm
intended.
not going to complain, really. Yeah, you could say things, studios did things a little bit differently. Yes, the montage was nice. We didn't need to see it again. We see them in action with their powers, and it was all great. We did, like you said, we didn't need to have the montage this time. And for the opening 10 minutes, it's like, yep, this is it. This is we set up. They're the most loved superhero team on the planet.
And the only one.
Yeah, the
Sorry,
only ones.
I don't know if that was a
You know,
spoiler or not either, so I sort of
uh,
just stop myself there.
you know, the the celebrities in their world. They did a lot of things were done right this year. So, like you say, it's little things like that you don't necessarily mind. So, no, to answer your question, I'm not fussed because this year has been fantastic so far.
Pun intended, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I put Pedro Pascal. Not my first choice. I think he's flavoured I'd say month, but flavoured the past 5 years. He's everywhere. I thought he actually played a good role. Played a good Reed Richards. Surprisingly, showed a great acting when showing emotion.
Yeah, so he, for me, is probably one of my criticisms of the film. I still don't think
Yeah, I
he's
didn't
my.
say he set the world alight. Nothing like that.
No, I felt like he was still playing Pedro Pascal. Yeah, he did okay in the emotional scenes as per se, but I felt that Vanessa Kirby um was more of the what's the word I'm looking for, Jack? Come on. She was,
Standout.
it's kind of the standout, but more she was the soul of the team.
Oh
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
It's like she was the emotional support for the team. Yeah, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when he's struggling to figure things out, she's the core. And
Yeah,
when it came to the roles reversed, I just didn't buy him. I just didn't feel like he was. I just didn't get him as Reed. Do you know what I mean? He didn't stand out for me. Hopefully he can have some sort of like a redemption thing in Doomsday. But if we see him in more projects, hopefully I'll warm up to him. But for now, I'm still not 100% on
yeah.
it.
I want. Yeah, like I'm not saying like this. He is like bread and butter Reed Richards nowadays. Like I can't see anybody else. Like I'm not going to go that far. Because like when this was announced and it was Pedro Pascal being Reed Richards, I was like bloody hell, like again.
Mm.
'Cause he was Joel, and then like I just thought like what I hadn't really seen like the
And he's
what's the
and he's in everything at the minute, isn't he? Let's be honest.
yeah, yeah, and like I don't want to like slate him. I just like I think he's a good actor, but I don't understand like the hype like with him. I thought
Yeah.
he's good in like Game of Thrones, and he's good as Joel. Don't get me wrong, but he wouldn't be my first choice, and it's the same here. Like he
No, I
wouldn't be my
mean
first choice.
from day one for me, my first choice for Reed Richards was either Killian Murphy. Oh, damn, his name evades me now. I had somebody else in my head who I thought would have made a decent Reed Richards. So I think Killian Murphy was up there for me as well, but I can never remember the name. But don't matter.
Um,
Move on. I've got the name. There was somebody else I had in mind. Well, yeah, slipped. Like I say, he's probably my main criticism of the film. Do you want to talk criticisms first before we jump into positives? Like
oh,
going more into positives because I only have another one really.
yeah, yeah. Go on then. What's your next one?
It was more or less in the plot, which was for me quite basic and quite
That's what I
predictable.
mean. Safe.
Yeah, as a movie, it set some very cliche moments, in particular the third act, which we will get into in spoilers. But at the same time, I didn't necessarily mind. Some characters don't get as much screen time as the others. Maybe like you like to say that maybe that's a bit of a nitpick. And there are a few visual moments that were quite bad. But let's say I didn't, like I mentioned before, the tension and the stakes for it made it up for it.
Yeah, interesting points. Yeah, like my more or less my things are more leaning into spoiler territory. So for
Right.
my for my like nitpicks and getting into like the nitty gritty stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable throughout. To be honest, I had a really good time for it. Let's
Yeah,
say the characters felt real, like an actual family. Like you say, like it was in the previous versions. It sort of like felt like a rad group. Like you say, you mentioned the futuristic '60s production design.
yeah, the
It's
retro
something
feature.
new. Galactus is daunting and intimidating,
Yeah,
as you should be. The use of their powers. I think overall my expectations were met. To be fair.
yeah. I think Sorry, like just jump on that. I think like going into it, I was very hesitant, and I thought they can't seem to do Fantastic Four justice. They can't seem to
Mm.
do it well. Excuse me. And personally, like Fantastic Four aren't my like go to like thing. Pun intended, the thing. But like they're not really my cup of tea. So for me to go into this and like leave being like, what, I enjoyed that. It's got to be a positive for them.
Yeah,
But I
it's got to
think
be a
like
plus.
like you say, I think Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, I think it's the best portrayal of the character we had so far.
100%. She's
Yeah,
by far my favorite character in the film.
yeah.
Yeah,
Natural
yeah,
leadership, head of the Future Foundation. I'm going to spoil the territory there, but yeah, and like showcasing her powers, the relationship she has. Do we talk about the main thing? Is that spoiler? Is it in the trailers about the the baby? Is that in the trailers or is
yeah.
that
It's in the trailers. Yeah,
okay? Yeah, well, like a relationship with the child and all that sort of stuff. I thought that was really well done.
yeah. I mean, I thought that overall the characters were wonderfully portrayed. Like I say, for the most part, my main praise has actually gone to Joseph Quinn because he was my other
Mm.
person. I didn't necessarily think as Johnny Storm he wasn't my first choice, and when I saw the first few trailers, I was still a bit unsure.
Because
Um,
he's a bit of flavour of the month as well. Stranger
Again,
Things.
yeah, Stranger Things, and he was in Gladiator 2 last year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but and Yeah, so yeah, he was my main concern. One of my people I doubted is Johnny Storm. Vanessa Kirby, like you say, superb. And also Jennifer Garner as Silver Surfer. I think she stole the show, to be
Julie.
honest. Julie Garner, sorry. Yeah. I say it's I think everyone got everyone got a moment to shine. Like I say, and you were about performances, you're going about Galactus, he looks and sounds great.
Ralph Ineson, yeah.
Intimidating. Yeah.
Yeah, the voice.
Yeah, with Ralph Ineson, yeah, he's as weird as it sounds. He had me quite enticed when every time he spoke.
Yeah, I want to
For
see
me,
more.
yeah, they were the highlight of they were the highlights of all the best action sequences as well in the film as well. But we'll go into that a bit later on.
Yeah, because my main things with Galactus is more for spoiler talk.
Yeah,
But yeah, also Ebon Moss Backrack. Well, I don't know how you say his surname.
That's- yeah, great as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was my biggest concern going into this, to be honest.
I mean, we were quite lucky in a way. Like we say, quite lucky in a way. He was quite lucky in a way because a lot of him was mo-capped and he
Yeah,
had like a suit on, so you never really saw his face unless he was in the TV. But like being an astronaut first, originally going into space, you only see glimpses, so
yeah,
that probably helped him a little bit. And so I thought he encapsulated the thing quite well. By the way, the thing suits in this movie, some of his style, so out of the comics, which
yeah,
is really
yeah.
really cool.
Let's talk about out of the comics. What do you think about him with his beard?
I was a bit. I got to be honest. I was a bit. Oh dear. I'm not sure about this, but it again, literally, it grew on me. So
Yeah, I see. I put a note on here. Okay, he grows a beard, which is comic accurate. But how come we can't grow hair?
I don't know, Jack. I'm not gonna. I don't know. I ain't got a clue. I'm not gonna question it.
Yeah, no, I know that is just like not a nitpick. It's not even like a negative. Was just curious. I was a bit like, how come you can't grow hair then? But yeah, he's shaving. But yeah,
Didn't really think much go into much of it, to be honest with
yeah. But like jumping on that, Julia Gardner, Shalabal. When I
you.
first, because I don't know this version of Silver Surfer, I'm pretty sure she's been a female before.
In comics, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't know Shalabal. When I first heard it, I thought, oh my god, it sounds like Sean Paul. Sean Paul.
No,
No,
sorry, that's for you. Sorry.
okay, whatever. But yeah, yeah, I thought, her monologues like are really good. They're menacing
Yeah,
and pretty scary, what she says, but it's all in the trailer. And
it
so
is.
like
Yeah,
I wanted to see more of that. And like, don't get me wrong, we do see a bit more of it, but I wanted to see I keep saying a
more.
bit more, but like more. I want to see more of it.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was. I think she was part of the. She was the highlight of all the action sequences as well. Yeah, I think as well. I think she added to the stakes and she amplified the tension as well. I found myself quite locked in. That's quite weird for me because that's how engaged I was. Also, you go into a shot about the VFX are some of the best. Some of the better ones in the MCU over the last few years. And the
Oh
motion
yeah.
capture, you go on about the thing, the the motion capture for the thing and for Silver Surfer and Galactus, I think were in particular were brilliant. And also the fact they actually mixed practical sets and miniatures complemented it brilliantly. I
Yeah,
really,
yeah. I've seen some of the pictures, like, and yeah, with Ralph Ineson, he actually got into obviously not he's not that tall, obviously.
obviously.
So yeah, he got dressed up for it, and yeah, the look and the sound definitely. Oh,
Yeah,
and comic
great.
accurate as well. They've actually done him right because obviously this would be more with the older Fantastic Fours, but like I remember him, Galactus character being in that, and it was shit.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Rise
the
to
fart
Silver
cloud.
Surfer. Yeah,
Yeah,
the cloud.
yes,
Yeah,
it's a cloud, man. It's so yeah. But yeah, the more things I got to say about Galactus is into spoiler
yeah.
territory. So um,
Well, all I can say is without spoiling it is that, and one thing I want to mention, which is one of my one of the highlights of the movie for me, was the entire sequence in space. It's probably one of my favorite superhero segments or scenes we've had in a while.
you're
So
saying
creative, yeah,
this
so
one's one of your
engaging.
favourite ones.
One of them, yeah. Like
Yeah.
over
Okay.
the last few years, what we've had, I think that entire sequence in space, so
Mm,
creative, so engaging, and it was by far, like I just said, the standout sequence for me. Like I said, beautiful visuals, and it was so refreshing to see. And like we mentioned earlier, in particularly in the MCU, where CGI nowadays in the Marvel projects have been really poor. So,
yeah.
and each scene was so full of like color and vibrancy in every shot. That the whole sequence just blew me away.
So, the scene where they're going out into space, it's honestly one of the best ones in a while, like you said, and probably one of the best parts of the film.
Yeah,
Um,
there is a. To be fair, we can talk more about it in spoiler, but there is a certain shot in that sequence that I want as a screensaver. and we'll talk about more
Yeah,
than
I think
spoilers.
I think I know what you're on about. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that we can add to it without obviously getting into spoilers.
No, well, there's something from like mainly. I think what was impressed more than anything is the director Matt Shakeman, who's more known for doing WandaVision, which is probably one of the better Disney Plus shows. He's done a
Mm.
handful of Game of Thrones episodes as well. I think you can tell he cared about these characters and he wanted to create a movie visually engaging, story wise, very engaging. He cared about these characters, and you could tell that he took time and care for it, whether from the motion capture work, whether from the suits, you know, the actors that they hired to portray these characters. You can tell the details were in it. Like again, the design for Galactus in this movie was essential,
Yeah,
and they absolutely nailed it. Like I want a 12-inch pop vinyl figure of it. It was incredible.
he also
Yeah,
left Star Trek. He was like lined up to do a Star Trek Beyond film. He left that to do Fantastic Four.
probably the good decision, wasn't it?
Mm.
It was nice for a change to see someone care about. Not saying that any other director didn't try, but you can just tell that a lot of care and attentiveness was put into it. You can tell people really tried with this and created a beautiful visual spectacle. So full props to him. I think they did a fantastic job. I think they put in literally pun intended. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's I was and also as well. Phil, sorry, mate. Phil, to jump in. The score from Michael Giacchino. I think
mm.
that man was channeling his inner John Williams, man. I think that was some of one of the best scores we've had in a Marvel movie for quite a while.
Yeah,
I've downloaded the soundtrack. When I got in the car after, I thought it was brilliant. The Fantastic Four. I was just like, I mean, it was in the trailer as well. I think that score is just it's great, but it's chilling at the same time. When it comes on, I'm like, ready to go.
yeah. No, yeah, that's another thing. I think the score is actually um catchy. They like the theme tune,
It was, yeah.
and the other parts of the film where like you see Galactus, it's like menacing and
Yeah. Also,
yeah,
as well, there was a lot of homages to the comic in the '60s TV show or the '70s, the old cartoon.
yeah,
I remember briefly watching a handful of episodes of that as a kid, but I'm not.
yeah. I'm not
It's
100%.
it's not like an X-Men like series I remember, to be honest, or a Batman animated. But yeah, it was
Yeah,
nice. Like I say, it harkens back to what I said earlier. But yeah, whoever he took his time and he cared about this project, and you can tell he put a lot of effort and a lot of heart into it, and it paid off. It's visually, I think he's done a really good job, man. Shake, and he deserves all the praise.
yeah, yeah. It's hard really to talk about it without going into spoilers, but I think, like I said, it was a safe choice to do this film. Leaning like, are we ready to move on to the next part? This part I've
Yeah,
got.
I mean, I'll finish the non-spoiler segment by saying this. I think
Yeah,
overall, I think this movie has really kept my interest in the future of the MCU and where we're going. And in general, another great step in the right direction. We have the Fantastic Four family that we deserve for the most part. About Pedro. I think it's beautiful visuals, engaging story, wonderful score, and some really great performances and casting choices. And to finish off on the non-spoiler, which we will talk to in spoilers, that end credit scene. Ooh.
yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, moving in swiftly along into quick, brief predictions because obviously we can't again can't really talk much about it because of the spoilers. But obviously, if you put two and two together, some certain person's going to be in there. Yeah, I've totally lost track. What I was going to say now about Matt Shankman. Yeah, oh, that's it. Yeah, it played it safe. My only concern for like this film right now, it's fine because it's like the newest thing. People are hyped for the new installments that are up and coming. I think when like Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars are out, I don't think this is going to have that longevity. Whereas, like we spoke on the last episode, where you got like No Way Home, Winter Soldier, where you can just pick them up and watch them.
Mm.
I don't think people would come back to this and watch it as like they might do. Obviously, there's people who are going to do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. I just don't think people are going to come back to this one and be like, oh, you know what, I really want to watch this. Whereas, like, they might see these characters in like Doomsday and Secret Wars. I'd rather watch them in those.
See, I'm going to disagree with you because I think one of the things that helps this movie is it's set in a different universe. So I believe it's the 828
Yeah, yeah.
universe.
Eight to eight.
So
Yeah.
So for me, you don't have to familiarize yourself with other Marvel movies or other Marvel characters. It's a fresh take on, again in a different universe. No superheroes, it's just them. You could literally jump into it without having to go back to any other Marvel movie. You could just
Yeah,
jump straight into this one and just go with it from there. Like you can jump into the next movie when they turn up, and at least then you know. So I feel like I think this is a more of a rewatchable film than let's use an example like a Shang-Chi. Just as
okay.
an example, probably a poor example.
No, no.
Or the Winter Soldier, because you have to do a little bit of homework on not the Winter Soldier, Brave New World. You have to do a bit of homework on that one. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Whereas this one, you don't have to. You literally could just jump straight into it.
yeah, but that's what I also mean. Like at the minute, I think people you can watch it now because obviously leading into predictions going into the newer ones. My prediction is that the Earth 828 might be a vocal Earth rather than 616. So then, like what you're saying is obviously I'm not right because obviously it's prediction. If that is the case, and like most of these or the next like 2, 3 films or whatever it is, they set place on this Earth 828, then this film's like not null and void, but they'd rather watch them in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see.
So
Yeah, I
that's
can
my prediction. So I reckon it's going to take place on Earth 828.
see now. It's difficult to go into. It's just our predictions, right? So for me, it's hard to say. Well, my predictions are. If I go to spoilers because I
I
want to
know.
talk about the end credit scene. So I'll say one of my predictions for the spoiler part of it. But for me, for now, I do think this film really sets up the stakes for Doomsday in terms of the certain babe. I think, let's be honest, if people watch this and they know who Fantastic Four are and they know who the baby is, Franklin Richards is one of the most powerful characters in Marvel.
Yeah. So I've
So go on.
sorry guys, totally cut you off. I read a bit about this. This was for my spoiler talk. But yeah, because I didn't. I'm not like I said earlier. I'm not up to like the most recent um news or what's the word I'm looking for? Like Origins, Fantastic Four. I don't know, like delving into them that much. So Franklin Richards was a new one for me. So he's born with immense reality warping powers active from birth, which is extremely rare. He can also
Yeah.
manipulate matter, energy, and space on a cosmic scale, even creating entire universes. And as a child, he created a pocket universe called the Heroes Reborn universe to save Marvel heroes. In some futures, Franklin becomes so powerful that Galactus acts as his herald, turned himself into a mutant because he wanted to, and he also destroyed Mephisto, helped rebuild the multiverse with his father after Secret Wars. So this little kid is overpowered as fuck.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
basically God, pretty
Yeah.
much. That's what I say. I think that's you mentioned literally stole my thunder there, man. So my prediction
Uh,
for my predictions is Doomsday, the Avengers Doomsday. We will see, I believe, Doom using Franklin Richards to destroy the universe as we know it, and I think everything will morph. All the universes will morph into Doom's battle world from the Secret Wars comic. Again, we're not familiar with comics, but we do, try best our research as much as possible. So I do believe that will eventually lead into Secret Wars because one of my things is that we haven't been introduced to Doom, have we? And all of a sudden we get an Avengers Doomsday
yeah.
movie.
Mm.
It makes me feel that they can't just bring him in for one movie and then just get rid of him after one movie.
Mm.
So I do think that the Avengers and in fact the multiverse will lose at the end of Doomsday, which will then lead into Secret Wars being on his created, all the universes in one battle world. And I think that's when we're going to get all the old Fox characters, the old maybe even some of the Sony characters, and we're going to have all that interact to eventually come together to eventually beat Doom. So that's sort of my predictions, and I can actually see if you just give me 2 seconds, I can actually see the Secret Wars ending. My prediction for the ending. Sorry, I'm trying to find my notes about it. So two
Right.
seconds. Very unprofessional here. Because Kevin Feige said that it will be a soft reboot after Secret Wars. So I believe from 616 Universe, 828, Fox's X-Men mashed together into Battle World under Doom. At the climax, I believe Franklin will reset the universe, but we get a crisis style, Infinite Crisis style merging, but instead of a restoration of the multiverse and the major universes all get rewritten into one timeline. So I can imagine, and again, I read this down the other day, imagine amazing how much time you have when you then do nothing. I believe in the final sequence we get a montage, which starts in the X-Men mansion, before going across where we see Spidey in Manhattan swinging through the streets, the Fantastic Car flying overhead, and finally, as the new Avengers emerge from the tower, I can see something along those lines because for me, Secret Wars is one of the biggest resets in Marvel Comics. I don't think they can do that without really having a impact of having all these characters in one timeline now. And I think that's how you get all your Fox characters into the MCU now, and then we can branch off with different storylines. So we mentioned the last episode about love to see Daredevil, the Thing, or Johnny Storm, or one of the next men's, all interacting with each other. I think that's the only way they can do it.
Yeah, that's a solid prediction. I'd be happy to see that.
Yeah, clip it for TikTok.
Yeah, no, that's a solid one. I think I'm sort of like similar. Again, I think this Franklin character is going to be used. Doctor Doom's going to use it for his benefit, and then use it for that battle world, quite similar to yours. And just reset it, get them all under one timeline. I think that's where we're going. But that's a prediction, and if we're right, would you be let down?
No, I would be quite satisfied, to be totally honest with you, because I would like to see something new with the MCU. So whether or not we get the old X-Men or the new X-Men that we saw at the end of the Marvels, with the comic, the TV series Look at Beast. So I personally would be happy because I feel like, something, I was watching, I won't mention the podcast's name, but they made a fantastic point the other day about having to maybe look at Doomsday or Secret Wars not as a finale, but as the start of the next section, the next part of the MCU. A bit like how the Avengers was for the rest of Phase 2. So this is the final, this is the get together to start off this new era of Marvel, and I thought that's a fantastic way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, but in terms of Doomsday, I definitely think I would love to. I'll bring it up a prediction in when we talk spoilers, but I can sort of see how this sets up Doomsday. So now that's what I think we're going to end up with in Doomsday. I genuinely believe that we're going to see Franklin totally wipe out the entire multiverse, and Doom will win. We'll see the final shot of Doomsday with him sitting on his throne in Battleworld, with some of the heroes hiding, thinking, "What do we do now?" And then it could even cut to black, or we can the final shot will be like the old Fantastic Four, Jessica Alba and all. Imagine that.
Oh wow.
Or Hugh Jackman coming in with with these old X-Men, thinking, let's do this bub or something like that. I don't know, just something like that. People probably look at that as massive nostalgia bait, but I think you get to a point where as long as you integrate it correctly in your story, I couldn't care less.
Yeah. No, that'd be good. I'd be up for that, to be fair.
I think it's bright. I genuinely believe the future of the MCU is bright. I think after we've had some hitters this year, and I think the setup after this movie for Doomsday is looking good. Again, it's weird. Very looking for, like I said in the end of my overall for the non-spoilers. I'm really interested in the future of the MCU and where we're going to go. It's
that's the first time in a while, isn't it?
A long time, probably since good 3-4 years, really.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah, I think we have very similar views on the prediction side. Do you want to do a quick chat about the old Fantastic Four?
Yeah, so I mean, rewatching both of them last week. I do hold some nostalgia for it. I do think they are fun. They are silly. Yeah, at the time, CG is very, very questionable. The origin story.
Thing.
Yeah, we got a practical thing. Michael Chiklis, it's always great. Chris Evans as Johnny Storm. He is super hot in that movie. I'm sorry, I'm a good looking bloke when I see one. He's great in that film.
We get as in is that a pun or?
Well, both. Yeah, he's hot with Johnny Storm, and he's also a good looking bloke in there. Jessica Alba's, all of them. You can tell they're just there to have a good time. Doom is probably the cheesiest part of the movie. He's a very, very typical bad guy. And it was nice for that movie. I forgot how limited the action sequences are in that film. There's a lot of dialogue of them having to fix themselves, and then saw the overall message of, you don't need to be fixed. This is who you are. This is what you were born to be, and when you're ready to accept this. So, I mean, come on. I mean, it's an early 2000s comic book, so it isn't perfect. I gave it a 5 out of 10. There are so many flaws, so many stupid decisions. Yeah, and, a lot of eye-rolling moments. Very, very poorly written dialogue. But I couldn't help but keep my nostalgia for it. The last half an hour was just silly, but it is enjoyable. Very quickly on Rise of the Silver Surfer, this movie was surprisingly I mean, it's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but it's again, it was similar to the first one. The nostalgia held up for me. You know, the CGI and Silver Surfer, the chase sequence with him and Johnny Storm in Manhattan was really cool. Yes, Galactus looks like, something that you think
Vape
about.
cloud.
But yeah, far cloud in the middle of space. That was pretty bad. And also, it's an hour and a half long, so the movie's really rushed.
Mm.
We're going from place to place in the space of like 2 minutes, and you have these very cliche characters, very cliche military men and also Doom is randomly shoehorned into it, and
And then he turn up at the end.
he turned up in the last half an hour,
Yeah.
and then he gets beaten by Johnny, who inherits all their powers via touching the board of the Silver Surfer. He touches all the fantastic, all his everyone's touches everyone, not inappropriately. Like they all put their hand in. He gets all their powers, and he just beats Doom up for about 2 minutes, and then he gets thrown into the sea or the river, and you see him go down into the, and that's it. And you never see him or hear of him again. So you're just presuming that he just drowned. Yeah,
Wow.
it was so silly. Like some bits were so poor, but I mean, they shoehorned. Yeah, they kind of shoehorned in the Silver Surfer's motives for changing sides because he sees the beauty of humanity through Sue Storm, which is like, oh, cool, yeah. But there's nostalgia held up, but by no means this is a fantastic. I mean, if I had my critical hat on, I probably would have given it a 3 or 4 out of 10. But because that nostalgia holds up a little bit, I bumped it up to a 5. But that doesn't mean doesn't mean it's an all right movie. I know it's bad, but I just just hold
Yeah.
it with it. And to be honest, finishing off, I was going to watch Fantastic, but I just could not bring myself to do it. So I literally went on YouTube and typed in some of the best scenes. Funny enough, the kept coming up with worth scenes. So
Yeah.
rewatching those scenes, man, you just think, what were they thinking? But going back to when we saw it, I remember walking out of the film quite angry. It came out at the time where we were doing, we had The Dark Knight, so we were doing a lot of realism, like superhero films, and they tried to do a realistic version of it, and
It's so dark as well. Not
it
like the tone, but visually, it's not
visually,
nice to look at. And the CGI rock thing, that's not the thing. That's some fucking imposter, whatever the
yeah,
hell that is. Burn it with fire, man. That thing is
yeah.
hideous. But and
It
also
was
the look of
terrible,
Doom as well. The look of Doom.
poor, yeah.
Jesus Christ, Halloween costume, man. It's awful.
It was, yeah. They tried to do a lot of
Talented
body.
people in there, though.
There were Michael B. Jordan,
Miles Teller,
Miles Teller, Jamie Bell. Yeah, there was
Toby Kebbell.
K Mark. Who's the woman in it? K Mark. Yeah, she, very talented actors and everything. But poor script from Josh Trank. He made a
Definitely drank
massive.
something.
Yeah, he made some massive errors, and the retelling of the origin story. Like I say, it was more like a body horror type thing that they were trying to introduce and trying to bring a lot of realism to the Fantastic Four. You gotta realize that this is the person that can stretch. One can go invisible.
Yeah,
One's a
yeah,
rock, and one can set on fire.
yeah. On and off.
How much can we
Yeah,
really do with trying to make it as realistic as possible? It deserves the 1 star. It deserves to be up there with one of the worst superhero movies ever made. And I have to ask the question: whoever's in those studios, who thought that it was a good idea?
yeah. And I remember they marketed it, the trailer, and it got. I remember it getting quite positive feedback, and it looks. Everyone was like, you know what, this looks good. And then
Yeah,
the first review started to filter out, and everyone's like, avoid it, do not bother.
yeah. We saw it on opening weekend, didn't we? If I remember.
I don't think I
And
watched it at cinema.
oh no, I'm sure you did. You came with us with our friend of
There was
ours.
it of it then.
We were. I remember we were there because I remember standing outside and we were fuming.
All right.
Yeah, we wasted. We were really, especially our friend. He was pissed.
Yeah.
And I didn't blame him. I mean, even back then in 2014, I thought, what the hell was that? Like, what were you trying to do? The last 5 minutes is level world-ending threat, and it was done in 5 minutes. So it wasn't that much of a world threat. And it was like they turned up, and I hate that bit at the end when he says, "This is fantastic," and he does
Do
that
it
thing.
again.
Well, obviously, doing. He goes, I mean, it's become a meme now,
Yeah.
and deservedly so. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's about. I think we've gone on about this movie too much. I think we've wasted 3 minutes talking about it. It's the biggest pile of shit going. It
Yep.
really is. I'm glad I
Definitely
didn't
one of the worst
rewatch it.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So for me, the old Fantastic Four, like I said, I didn't watch it recently, but I remember the reflex test when he smacks his knee and he kicks the stool flying.
That's
That's
funny. Yeah,
that's like my nostalgic mind, just
yeah.
remembering that. And when he tries to pick up the wedding ring with his finger and he can't
That
pick
was
it up.
heartbreaking, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
She's a bitch, man.
yeah, that was Andrea from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Laurie Holden.
Laurie Holden. Yeah.
Yeah,
What a bitch. Bitch in
bitch.
The Walking Dead as well.
Yeah, she's good at playing
No,
a bitch.
yeah, she's very good at playing a bitch. I'm pretty sure she's a lovely person.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. And yeah, another thing you mentioned, it was nice to see that even though they weren't the greatest, they had a lot of dynamic. They had a bit of banter. The chemistry wasn't awful, especially between I was going to say Ben Chiklis, Michael
Michael
Chiklis,
Chiklis.
and and Chris Evans. The chemistry was there. The relationship between Jessica. Who is Mr. Richard again? Reed Richards.
I can't say his name. Like
I
Ion
can't.
or something. Grufford.
Yeah.
Ion Grufford or something.
Their
Weird name.
chemistry was very weird. I thought they were by far the worst bit of the movie. Jessica Alba she was fun as Sue Storm, but she did not embody that character very well. I mean, the amount of times they had naked scenes for her, I thought, it's a bit weird. I get it,
Yeah.
she's an attractive lady, but come on, like. And
Yeah.
they did it again in the second one. She's like, "Why does this always happen to me?" Because I'm thinking, you got a pervert director. That's why.
Yeah, I swear
Yeah.
there's. I don't want to make accusations and that, but I swear there was something. I don't know whether it was Jessica Alba, but yeah, like from what you're saying, it does sound like it was that one where there was like constantly trying to get her like in the least clothes possible.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I
that's
think a lot of
like
early 2000s films they were getting people to do that, so it
yeah,
must have been a thing of the times.
horny things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, shall we jump into the spoilers?
Yeah, can I jump straight into my prediction spoiler,
Yep.
please? So I now believe, and shoot me down, the end credit scene of Thunderbolts, where we see the Fantastic Four ship. I strongly believe that the Fantastic Four are not in that ship.
Mm.
I think Doom and Franklin are in that ship.
Okay.
I think he stole the ship. And I think that's when he's come to Earth 616. Because if you think about it, there's not a Fantastic Four in our universe. So if he believes that they're the only people that could stop him, I think he took him and Franklin to that universe, and that's how we get introduced to the Fantastic Four.
Yes, that's a solid theory. I never thought about that one. That never
I know.
passed my mind. So when I saw the ship, I thought, from right, never in spoilers, I thought that Galactus would destroy the world, their world,
Yeah,
and they fail, and they
yeah.
have to leave, and so they, Reed Richards had found this like, Earth because smart bloke. That's putting
Mm-hmm.
it lightly, and yeah, and that's where like they come in, and then they get warning of Doctor Doom or whatever. But
Stop
yeah, like
shaking.
I know, sorry,
You
but
keep dancing.
your theory is very solid.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day, like thinking, how can they introduce Doomsday to the Marvel universe, like our universe? And the only way I could think of was, what if he was in that ship in the end credit scene of Thunderbolt, and it's actually like a expectation subversion, like they come out. Excuse me. They come out and it's not Fantastic Four and it's Doom. Like that will be our introduction, and then that's when he like everything kicks off and they start realizing who it is, and the Fantastic Four could follow through their space portals that they created, which is one of my other highlights. Yes, okay, my opinion on Pedro Pascal stands, but I do think they writ him as the Reed Richards that we expected. Very smart, very intelligent. He's always calculating things. He doesn't look at the emotional side of things. He's always
Yeah,
like giving probabilities. I think that they nailed the character of Reed Richards. I'd say I'm just not, like I said earlier, I'm not the biggest Pedro fan of it. So, but that doesn't mean that they didn't write the character the way that we've known him, like in previous
yeah,
installments and in the comics.
yeah. I like his monologue where they have to put Franklin at danger. They put him in that little triangle. Well, they're on about it, and he's like, I have to think of the worst, and that's all I think about is,
So
that
yeah,
scene on about,
yeah.
yeah, and like,
I have to think of the worst. Um, Before somebody else does or something like that. Yeah,
yeah,
it was a good line. I thought it was. I can't remember it now.
yeah. So I thought that was really good.
We were talking about like them embodying the characters.
Yeah,
And I was really surprised and I was really pleased to see how they don't treat Johnny as just this hot but dopey idiot.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I loved the scenes where he was deciphering the language,
yeah.
and then
That's one of my positives.
they didn't treat him like a hot but stupid stereotype.
Yeah, and like his character, like he was willing to sacrifice himself at the end.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah,
Franklin like his uncle loves him, and then he just full on
yeah.
goes for you. And
I did call it though. I did think Silver Surfer's going to come here because he's casting bloody Doomsday. I'm thinking
oh
you're not
yeah,
going
we
to
all
die.
knew. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
saying. Like I just thought it was like, yeah, you ain't going to die.
Yeah, but this is one of the problems I had with the Silver Surfer. Um, yeah, I thought I wanted to see more of her because
Yeah, I agree.
I like the little backstory they gave her. How Galactus basically forced her to be the
Hmm.
Herald, like so. It turns her into that Silver Surfer. Then yeah, but then when Johnny catches up to her and he says like when he surrounds her with all the very conveniently, like all the messages are playing at once, and she's like, reliving her past and the guilt and everything. And then she shoots off. I think there should have been something a bit more because she should have had a bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a redemption because like she comes at the end to
Yeah,
save the day. I just wish I'd have seen a bit more because
yeah,
it was literally just that part was like she flies. I think it's just convenient for the plot, like
yeah. It's funny you mention that because one of my points of critical criticisms on the my spoiler segment is Silver Surfer's decision at the end to do the final push on Galactus wasn't earned.
Yeah,
It's to
that's exactly
harken
right.
exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah,
I feel like throughout the whole movie, she was just doing what she was told, and we get the 2 minute scene of her losing the planet, like making a deal with Galactus. You're thinking, oh, okay, but like say with those small interactions with Johnny, like, believe it or not, I'm going to compare it. Rise of the Silver Surfer in 2007, we had a few scenes where Sue and the Silver Surfer would interact, and he would see the beauty of humanity through Sue. So when he does make decisions to self-sacrifice, it kind of felt a little bit earned because he understood what he was trying to save. Whereas the Silver Surfer, yes, she wanted some redemption for all the bad things, the people, the planets that she's destroyed. I understand that, but in terms of the Fantastic Four, I didn't think that she had enough interaction with them that warranted her doing the final push.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that was one of my main issues towards the end.
And also, it didn't clarify if I'm wrong, but why couldn't Galactus just tell Silver Surfer to just go in and get the baby?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was never clarified, or maybe they just thought that he was
And
coming, like this was his.
yeah, and that's why I think they needed to make it a bit more because yeah, I understand she felt guilt and she pissed off for a while, but maybe there's like a definitive reason as to why she couldn't. Because like I know for the sake of the plot and like for visually and everything, like climax and everything, Galactus on Earth and that scene's cool. But and again, I could try to turn my critic brain down a bit, but I was just thinking like, well, why didn't he just tell her to swoop in? She's fast as fuck. She's on a fucking surfboard, pretty much. Why couldn't she just go in, yank the baby, and then head off? So that's why I think they tried to play the guilt part for that reason.
Yeah,
But I don't think there was enough there for that.
maybe. Yeah, it's a solid point, but like you say, maybe the reason that's why they had the scenes with them two interacting and her feeling bad because that's why she shot off, and that's why Galactus came down himself because she disappeared.
Yeah,
He can't. He can only control her. Maybe he can only control her when she's close by because we did see it, like him like lift the finger up and like like a little flea. Wasn't it when
yeah,
she was like, "I failed you" and all that crap. So, but yeah, maybe it was one of those reasons. Maybe that's the reason why she didn't do that, but because she buggered off because Johnny upset her. You know. So,
yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I can't. That's the only argument I could think of is for those reasons. Yeah, maybe Johnny upset her, and that's why she couldn't come down to the baby, and that's why Galactus had to come down himself. Can I jump onto one of my bits and one of my other like criticisms that I didn't particularly
yeah.
like? I hated how Sue dies, then gets brought back by Franklin. It's reminiscent of the Return of the Silver Surfer when Sue dies and Silver Surfer brings her back. We've seen it 100 times before in other movies where they like die and they're like, it's just like, oh come on. If they wrote it as she didn't die, but then it's severely wounded, I would have understood more because having to harness all that power to try and push him back, she obviously would have been completely knackered or wounded or injured in some capacity. But I get why they did that scene because to an extent, they used that scene to prove to to the Fantastic Four that Franklin is who Galactus says he is,
Yeah.
and who's this almighty cosmic being. But also, man alive, that CGI on that baby was really poor.
Oh yeah, it comes and goes, doesn't it? That one, yeah,
It
that was
did
weird.
come and go.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't really have a problem with. Obviously, we knew she wasn't dead. It is very cliched. We all just waiting for that moment where it's like, yeah, come on, bring her back.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem because I think it shows Sue Storm's character. Like she literally was. I think. Well, to be fair, I think they could have showed her a bit more like panicky or desperate to get Franklin. She's literally just like pushing him. She'd have just been
Yeah.
screaming like full on, just go like gunning for it, and then like it catches Galactus off guard. 'Cause that's another issue I'll delve into in a minute. But yeah, and then like that could have been a bit more because like yeah, it's like yeah, she uses her powers and then she died. But yeah, with this whole Galactus thing, it reminds me a bit of Kang, where it's like he is one of the most overpowered, well not overpowered, like powerful beings in Marvel,
Mm.
and like he got beat and he got and he didn't die, but he got beat. But I'm just hoping that like they're not done with him because I want to see him back.
Definitely.
I want to see him back like better than ever because like sort of making excuses for the film. I was sort of hoping like the lean towards like he wasn't. He was a bit naive. He didn't expect them to be, because he
Well,
calls them bugs. So I thought maybe he's a bit like, oh, she's going to be a piece of piss. So I'm just going to go in here, get them, and that's why like ultimately he failed.
yeah, I think as well. I think it harkens for me back to the theme of family and the fact that he was taken, like her baby was literally about to be sucked into space. She did everything like a mother's instinct do. She'd do anything to protect her baby. She would die for that baby, and I think that's what that represented. That she was
Yeah,
willing to go that far, and maybe using Galactus as this being as a metaphor for no matter how big the obstacle is, you do what you got to do to protect your baby.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I can understand. Like I say, I can understand the points you're making, but I can't feel like I'm defending the film a bit more because I think the overall message is that like what I've just said, and maybe that's the reason why they decided to make her the self-sacrifice cliche, as it were. I mean, it made more sense for her than what it would have done for Reed. Because I think, like, yes, they showed off his powers, but I felt like he was just like stretching himself just to get himself on the roof.
yeah,
He
yeah.
didn't really highlight his powers until the opening 10 minutes, and after that, it's just sort of dabbling with
Yeah.
his powers.
Yeah, but like I say, I just wish that they'd showed more, like, just desperation for her to
Mm,
get the baby back. Because, like,
yeah,
for me, yeah, like, she does show, like, her acting and, like, it must be hard because let's face it, on the blue screen with nothing. So, like, it must be hard for her to, like, gauge that sort of, what's the word, like, level
yeah.
to,
The
like,
threat, like that.
react, yeah, to nothing really. Well, I say nothing, honestly, I'm sure was there, whatever. But, like, I just want maybe to see the sheer, like, desperation and then like she dies and they get then you can have the baby, bring her back
Yeah,
and whatnot. What's my other point? I was going to make a point. Yeah, with Galactus. So the way that I said they played it safe. Personally, I would have liked to seen 838 like this world getting destroyed because then it
yeah.
harkens back to my point at the start where I was like, this one I think in a few years it'll just be people won't be coming back to it as much, in my opinion. So like maybe for this one in Earth 828, like it should have Galactus should have gone there, fuck shit up. Because they could have
Destroyed
done
their
really
world.
because yeah, because we see in the end of Thunderbolts they're coming like Fantastic Four, so I don't see why they couldn't, unless like obviously they do what I think they might do now, having watched it that this Earth 828 is going to be like the central one maybe,
Mm,
because I think they had like a really good opportunity to like just raise the stakes a bit more. Side note, I've just interrupted myself, but I think the people when like they come back to like the Earth and they say, yeah, like we didn't kill him, he's still out there, he's coming. They wanted our baby, we said like nope, and then it's like that's it. I think people.
bad decision, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. But I
Yeah,
think I think the people like I get it. They hold these people in high regard, like they're the heroes in that world. As far as we're aware, there's no like Hulk, Thor, whatever.
mm,
So I know they hold them in high regard. When she comes out with Franklin, I thought, hey, that's really stupid. Because like literally, she just put herself in jeopardy for no reason. Maybe she should have had like one of the bubbles around her or something,
yeah,
just to show a bit more like threat. Because like that was I know we have to suspend disbelief, but that was real life, and like you know, our world's going to get destroyed for the sake of a baby. Yeah,
yeah,
people would react and be desperate to get that baby and do whatever. You know what I mean? So maybe
yeah,
like it could have showed and added a bit more to it, where like people on Earth, yeah, they love these people, but it's like we're going to die unless we get this baby. So like
yeah.
maybe they try to, they don't have to like do it really over the top or whatever, but because like they just let it go out have this like monologue, which was a good monologue, not gonna lie. But yeah, I just wish I saw a bit more like
So
desperation
you want to see? Yeah, I was going to say. So you want to see more? You would have liked to see more desperation within the people of New
within
York and
this
like the
world.
world,
Yeah,
thinking we rely on you. You're choosing this baby over us.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and so coming out and then facing us, we then take the baby to prove a point or whatever. I
yeah.
think it wouldn't have gone far, if I'm being totally honest, because I think all four of them would have took it, but it would have shown, it would have, shown
Yeah,
the
just a bit more
desperation.
like
And
this world building, and like and maybe like if, like the way I want it to end, like him destroying it, like that could have added a bit more like rewatchability as well. Because
yeah,
I find
potentially.
I find some of the best like Marvel films of late is where obviously where they lose, and it's not like the same generic like they're under threat, they beat the threat, they move on. They're under threat, beat the threat, they move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I get what you're saying. Maybe it would have been interesting to see that world blow. I mean, that was my prediction for
Yeah,
since we saw the first trailer. I
Yeah,
thought,
same.
Galactus is going to be the villain. I thought, wow, there's a potential for that's the way they get into the our universe is they come to ours because they lost theirs, or
Yeah,
lost their planet. But I think at the same time, it would have been strange to see that, them build this world up only to just destroy it at the end. But then they could have highlighted the stakes a bit better. But
yeah.
yeah,
But then
I
they got the
get,
multiverse. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, I can see, your point. I think it ended probably the right way. I think if you look at the overall story, I think if they would have ended the world, I think it would have been a bit. For me, it would have been a bit out of the blue. But I was just more worried that how they were going to beat Galactus, and they really didn't really beat him. They just pushed him to the other side of the galaxy.
Yeah, they sidelined him for a while. That's what I mean. I
Yeah,
hope he comes back because I
yeah,
want to see him back and do show like because he's got the looks, he's got the voice, he's menacing.
yeah. I can see him back in the future. I definitely could see him back.
Yeah, I hope he does. I hope they're not just like one and done with him. You
Yeah.
know.
Can we talk about something positive? Because I feel like we're just talking negatively about the film
Oh
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
last 5-10 minutes. We're talking about Galactus. The first encounter
yeah. With
for
the
me
eyes.
was some of the best stuff Marvel's done in years.
Yeah,
Asking for the baby in exchange for their planet, really engaging and intense stuff, which really upped the stakes. Silver Surfer riding the lava, was that's the wallpaper I was talking about. Like that would be a sick wallpaper,
mm.
and eventually the black hole as well, and then like duping her
Yeah,
whilst
yeah,
trying to have a baby in the
yeah,
freaking space, the whole thing, the whole space sequence with the black hole, trying to give birth and making the ship invincible to coax the Silver Surfer to going into the black hole. Oh, and like I say, visually, intention wise, it was just enthralling to watch. I
yeah,
thought that it was just incredible. Like you said, and going back to the first interaction with Galactus, seeing him for the first time, and his eyes lit up. I thought, man, this is comic freaking Galactus here. They've done it. They haven't done him dirty.
yeah,
And it really upped the tension, thinking, how the hell are they? I mean, even they were looking at it thinking, how the freaking are we going to beat him?
yeah,
And I loved it when they were escaping. He puts a hand through the thing where they're running away. I thought it just shows the scale of him. And he was daunting for the
yeah,
first time, and the interaction between them and the conversations, and I thought it was riveting. And it was really cool to see his, I don't want to say ship, planet,
yeah.
how
So
he
does
sort
she.
of, yeah,
The
how he sort of,
transportation.
yeah, how he digests like the planets, and how he
Yeah,
uses the lava to keep him going, and like them melting the planet down for him so he can feed. I thought, man, this is some really good stuff. That whole sequence for me was by far the standout for me. And you talk about not rewatchability. I'm looking forward to watching it and watching that sequence again because I thought it was superb. Really
yeah.
did.
Like I say, I think
Riveting.
that's one of the best parts of that film.
Yeah.
That scene. Yeah. So yeah, another positive is Doctor Doom.
Oh, that end credit scene, man. Yeah. Again, that harkens back to my prediction. I think he's gonna take Franklin. He's gonna escape that planet, universe, and take the ship and head into 616. And that's how we get introduced to Doomsday.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm leaning towards more your point now. I would like to see that. I think that's a good
It'd be so
theory.
cool. Imagine him coming off the ship and they're going like, might be a stupid message saying we are the Fantastic Four, and then he like Robert Downey Jr. just comes in like that's our introduction to Doom. You're thinking, that, holding Franklin, this godlike being. I think it would be that, and then like you can do your intro like Avengers Doomsday and everything. There you can like that cut to black. It'd be fantastic. I think it would be a really cool opening. Like I said, I just can't see any other way they do it now.
Yeah. Now you're
We'll,
sold me on that one.
we'll rewatch this time next year when it comes out. Not this time next year, when it comes out, and then we'll see if I'm right. But yeah, it was a really cool post credit scene and a quite an important one as well, which was nice because Thunderbolts gave a post credit scene for Fantastic Four, set that one up brilliantly. This one now sets up Doomsday. We have post credit scenes that are meaningful, and again, going back to the last episode when I said about overarching story, we finally have something
Yeah.
that's an overarching story.
And these post-credit scenes are actually in Doomsday.
These post credit scenes are actually in Doomsday.
Yeah.
Oh, actually in the movie.
Yeah, they're actually in the film.
Oh right, even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would all coincide. So again,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. That's what we want to see as fans. So
Yeah, 'cause
it was a
actually was Robert
great.
Downey Jr. at the end.
Was it actually Robert Downey Jr.? So
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if it was because for him
No,
to
he's
be on set.
confirmed it. Shankman.
Shall we confirm that was Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well. Wonder how much they paid him to not show on screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, it was a great post credit scene. Really up the stakes. I can imagine the introduction to the Fantastic Four and Doomsday would be like soon being knocked out and they're saying they took Franklin. And then like you see him steal the ship and that's when we go up and that's when he comes into our universe. And then it'd be interesting to see how Fantastic Four come into our world. Maybe you never know, they could go into a different universe where they would meet the Fox X-Men, or they could even meet an alternative versions of them, the 2005 ones. Yeah, there's a lot of doors that we can open now. And it makes me like I said earlier, it makes me interested in how they're going to do things going forward.
Yeah, I reckon they might use Reed Richards' teleportation device or something.
Yeah. Might even
Yeah,
split up. The four of them might even split up.
yeah, it might be. I was thinking it might be like an end game sort of thing where you got teams. So maybe
Yeah,
like because they use it to get rid of Galactus, so he's got to know how to use it. Because the first idea, which is they want to move the Earth over to the other side of the world.
yeah,
Side note, it's like comic book film, whatever. Set up from that, the first trial is an egg.
yeah. No,
Yeah. Why couldn't they
yeah,
just like start off with the egg and then go like to a building, and they move a building, and it's like, oh, and then like they have to move the world, and he's like, oh shit, bloody hell, that's a bit
because
of a leap.
plot.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to move the movie on, haven't they? Really,
Oh
they
yeah,
can't.
yeah,
They can't hold it on forever.
yeah. But yeah, so maybe like they could use that device to maybe like try and track down Robert Downey.
Doctor Doom. Yeah. Finally, did you notice that when they went into the scene? Sorry, that was my phone.
Yeah, that bay is empty.
This in the one you
Future
mentioned
Foundation.
earlier, the Future Foundation in
Yeah,
Latveria, and there was nobody
yeah,
seated. So I do think that he might be from that universe. And then
yeah. Or it might
he's
be in
watched
that.
everything unfold with like I said, the teleportation, and then has decided that and then realised that oh, actually I can use this for myself.
Yeah,
And then and then maybe he might use Frank. That's when he sees Franklin, and that's his opportunity. I'll say it's all predictions, spoilery predictions, but either way, it's intriguing. It's good to talk about predictions because we haven't had a chat like this for a while about a Marvel movie, thinking how they're going to do this. So
yeah,
it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff.
yeah. And it's tricky really to predict as well because like when we had the Avengers like coming up, we had like it was all building, like you said, the overarching. It was all building to this thing. It was easy to predict um, because like, of all those other ones. But with this new phase, they was lining up to do Kang, and then they had to literally just 180 it.
Hmm.
So like the prediction side, it is a bit trickier
Yeah.
um, to like predict what's going to happen. But yeah, I'd say watching this film, yeah, say it's safe, but you know what, I enjoyed it, which is a positive because I thought to myself, yeah, it's like it's okay, we'll move on. But I'm
Yeah.
actually, yeah, because I watched it with you again, so it made me want to watch it again. So yeah, overall, I'd say like it's positive. It's not like the second coming of Christ in terms of Marvel
No.
films, like nothing like that.
A lot of people will put this in their top tens very quickly of top 10 MCU movies. I probably wouldn't put it there now. Maybe in the future and to see how important it was, and then maybe on a rewatch, see if it still holds up. But I definitely would put it in the top 20. There's a lot of fun to be had. It's very colourful as well for a Marvel
Yeah,
movie for a change, and yeah, it's very vibrant. Like I say, there's a lot of positives going for it. The future survive, visual effects, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, it's all good stuff. It really was. I
yeah,
think we just feel like we moaned about like nitpick the last 10, 15 minutes about it, but these are just our little things about it. Innit?
there are flaws in there, and I think like, I wouldn't say some things are nitpicks, but overall, I'd say like they are genuine in like
Some
criticisms
good
of the film.
stuff. Some good stuff in it, wasn't it? Some good
Yeah, like
stuff.
I say, I walked out of it thinking, I enjoyed that. So, and like
Yeah.
I was very apprehensive for it. So, yeah, to walk out thinking, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I was cautiously optimistic, and I came out very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
so I look forward to the future of the MCU.
yeah, same here, same here.
Still not better than Superman.
Well, I've scored it higher than Superman's.
I've scored it
Uh,
one less than Superman.
I think Superman's more leaning towards the emotions, whereas this one it's like just a bit more simplistic. Um, but one last thing before we leave as well, I know there was a lot of editing. They had to edit this down to like under 2 hours because of
John
people's like.
Malkovich.
But yeah, John Malkovich totally cut out. Apparently to do
Mm.
that the monkeys. No idea. But yeah, they have to edit it down as well. But like for people's attention span as well,
All right,
people
because
can't.
it's very dialogue heavy for a change for a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like if it had been a bit longer, it might have been better. It might have upped the score because then it might have fleshed out a bit more of the points that we've made.
Yep. Do you know something? I'm always a fan of a film being longer, as long as it's told the story it wants to tell.
Yeah, that's for
Because
that
when you
reason.
cut things out, and then it leaves more questions than answers. Whereas you give us the full cut of the movie you want to put out, and we can understand what you're trying to tell us, whether we like it or not. I'd much rather watch a 2.5 hour Fantastic Four movie and it be a better movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
I think that too.
I'd give it a watch. Go and watch it. It's good fun. Marvel is, I'm not going to say back yet. So, but
Right track.
we are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. So yeah. Thank you for watching. We're also on Spotify if you want to listen to us and not see our faces.
Now see our faces. We're on TikTok,
TikTok, yeah, Instagram,
Instagram, and what else was there? No, it was YouTube. Yeah, that was it, wasn't it?
YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram. Yeah. So
Yeah. Give us a
yeah, please,
follow.
yeah, follow, comment as well, please. I want to discuss some other stuff. Let us know what you want to talk about. Yeah, like and subscribe and all that jazz. And yeah, we'll see you again soon.
See ya.
Take care.